Hello and welcome to Amazing China. I'm Roseanne Lake. While attending an art exhibition, I was once lucky enough to witness the entire process of assembling a huge pavilion model made of zhitan, or red sandalwood. Several containers of different components were firmly assembled by world-class architects who mounted the entire pavilion without a single iron nail. Their work was mesmerizing, yet perplexing, and for hours after the exhibition, I wondered how they had done it. Today, at the China Red Sandalwood Museum, I found out how. 4 wooden towers free of iron nails have stood firmly for hundreds of years. How can this be? Did the Chinese steal some building tips from the pyramid-building Egyptians? How can a 5-ton building with 9 girders, 18 posts, and 72 ridges remain erect for hundreds of years without a single nail? What does it take to build something like this? And more importantly, who is the brain behind it all? The model we are looking at is a replica of the corner towers of the Forbidden City. It was made of zhitan on a 10-to-1 scale with thousands of components. It weighs about 6 tons and was once transported to Taiwan for an exhibition in a most peculiar way.
同样的，我身后的这个角楼也是这样的啊。In
order to get this model transported to Taiwan safely, we needed to take it apart and pack all the components into containers. After it reached Taiwan, the whole thing needed to be reassembled again, and it took 7 people and 5 days to do it. The amazing thing is, they didn't need a single nail to put it together.
从今天开始装，就是日夜夜连装了5天。
Mr. Chi, the deputy director of the China Red Sandalwood Museum, told us that this model was built without using 1 iron nail. It is constructed completely based on the original corner tower of the Imperial Palace, whose parts are all joined by the Mortise and Tenon principle. The Mortise and Tenon technique has been used for thousands of years by woodworkers in the fields of Chinese traditional architecture and furniture production. In its basic form, it is both a simple and reliable way to hold wood together. Although there are many joint variations, the basic mortise and tenon comprises 2 components, the mortise hole and the tenon. The tenon, formed on the end of a structure generally referred to as a rail, it is inserted into a square or rectangular hole cut into the corresponding structure. The tenon is cut to fit exactly into the mortise hole and usually has shoulders to rest on when the joint fully enters the mortise hole. The joint may be glued, pinned, or wedged to lock it into place. Houses built by the mortise and tenon joint are very strong. Even after all of their brick walls fall, their wood frames generally remain in place, just like the real corner towers, which have stood in the Forbidden City for hundreds of years. Each of them has 9 beams, 18 columns, and 72 roof ridges. Such complex buildings were built using no fasteners and nails. By learning how this model was produced, we can better understand how the 4 real corner towers were built in ancient times.
当时我们紫檀博物馆建立之前，我们的工人是上千人。这里面呢
When we first set up our workshop, we had more than 1,000 workers engaged in different jobs, such as carving, polishing, and waxing. The models and furniture are all handmade, so no machines are involved. The production of an artwork like the corner tower can take more than 2 years to make.
装修工人啊，我们的有很多酒店都是我们工人自己装的，啊，就这样。
And now we bring you the story behind this rather complex operation. During the Ming Dynasty, Emperor Zhu Di ordered the construction of 4 fine corner towers, each with 9 girders, 18 posts, and 72 ridges. His chief of staff gathered all of the foremen and carpenters together and gave them 3 months to fulfill the mission. This was a really difficult task, as nobody had ever seen such elaborate blueprints for a corner tower. Deeply worried, one of the carpenters met an old man selling grasshoppers and bought one with a wooden grasshopper cage as a bit of a distraction. To his surprise, the delicately layered grasshopper cage had 9 girders, 18 posts, and 72 ridges. The construction of the cage served as the inspiration of the construction of the corner towers. The man who made the link, Lu Ban, is now known as the father of all builders. Although this is just a tale, it shares how the 4 corners of the towers of the Forbidden City were assembled. These now ancient methods have been passed down through Chen Lihua to the Red Sandalwood Museum. Thanks to them, the mysteries behind the magnificence of Chinese architecture are artfully unraveled. Thanks for joining us on this episode. For Amazing China, I'm Roseanne Lake. See you next time.